Welcome to Keystone Cares 2021. I'm Sam Bobola, Chief External Affairs Officer for PP Keystone. Thanks for joining us today, whether it's on your laptop, in front of your TV with family, or at a friend's watch party. And a special thank you to our sponsors who have made today's event possible. Their names are displayed on the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Through this year's Keystone Cares sponsorships, we've raised more than $60,000 to make care possible for the 22,000 patients we serve each year. During our time together, I hope you'll all be inspired to join them in making a gift to help us deliver non-judgmental, essential reproductive health care and sexuality education across Pennsylvania. Today, we've set a goal of raising $15,000 during the event. You can make a gift through the on-screen donate button, the QR code, or by text. If you're watching virtually, just click the donate button and a new tab will open in your browser, taking you directly to our fundraising website. Or pick up your phone and point your camera app at the QR code so you can see it on your screen between the yellow lines. A notification will appear. Tap on that notification to open the fundraising link. And finally, if you want to text to give, text PP Keystone to 888-646-0646. That number's 888-646-0646. You'll receive a text message in response with a link taking you directly to the fundraising website. From there, you can navigate to the Donate tab. All these instructions are listed in your event program, and the Donate button and QR code will remain on the screen, along with a scrolling honor roll and the heart, monitoring our progress towards the goal. Before we head into our affiliate update, some of you might be wondering about that bingo card you received. It's a reproductive health bingo card. The words or phrases on the card may be used throughout the night. As soon as you hear them, mark them. When you have 5 markers in a row, vertically, horizontally, or diagonally, type bingo along with your first and last name or email address in the chat. All of our winners will be placed in a drawing after the event to win PP Keystone swag bags. And if you don't get bingo, you can still be included in the drawing by sharing in the chat or a picture on social media at #PPKeystoneCares, the creative items you're using to mark your card. More details and our honor system rules are included in your event program. And now that your markers are ready, I'd like to turn it over to our President and CEO, Melissa Reed.
Thanks, Sam. I'm excited to be with you all to share some of what our affiliate accomplished amidst the continuing pandemic, what we have planned for this year, and what we need to focus on to ensure our doors stay open and our plans are realized moving forward. What I'm most excited to share with you today is that we will launch gender-affirming hormone therapy services beginning November 1st. Gender-affirming care offers hormone therapy for our trans patients. Patients from across the state will be able to access these services from the comfort of their homes. Care will be accessible through telehealth, accompanied by the opportunity for patients to get their lab work done at our centers or at another lab of their choice, at their convenience. The launch of gender-affirming care is so important. We have sought to expand care and education to the LGBTQ+ community at a time when they are facing increasing harassment and discrimination. Our LGBTQ+ patients deserve compassionate and non-judgmental care no matter what. To assist patients with these services, as well as other community supports and resources they need, we're also excited to be adding patient navigators to our team to assist them. We have a special guest today, Kate Bornstein, trans trailblazer and gender theorist. We are so honored to have her join in today as we get ready to launch gender-affirming care. Even in the midst of the pandemic, the team at PP Keystone expanded abortion access throughout our state. Our health centers in Wilkes-Barre and Bensalem now offer medication abortion, a huge milestone since medication abortion is among the safest and most convenient ways to get abortion care. We also launched telemedicine abortion, which has made abortion more accessible to our patients. PP Keystone is the second Planned Parenthood affiliate in the nation to offer medication abortion by mail. We are the only provider in Pennsylvania offering this program. Through the incredible power of telehealth, our doctors can now meet virtually with patients from anywhere in the state and provide them with abortion medications in the mail once they complete their labs and a 24-hour waiting period. Here's a testimonial from one of the patients that accessed abortion via the mail program. Being able to be flexible with the process was so important for her because she is a business owner who could not afford to take any time off to spend in a center. She was so thankful that she didn't have to risk her company in order to get the care she needed. She loved everything about the process and was super impressed with how quickly she received her medications after she sent in her notification. And we didn't stop there. We also expanded our healthcare services to include menopause care and access to HIV pre- and post-exposure prophylaxis, PrEP and PEP. And in July, to help address the rising rates of gonorrhea and chlamydia in Pennsylvania, we launched convenient, rapid STI testing that delivers results within 30 minutes and allows patients to access treatment immediately if they need it. Last year, we launched telehealth services. Now, a year and a half into offering care via telehealth, we've seen how patients from all over Pennsylvania now have access to our services. Telehealth has made healthcare more accessible, that's for sure. But it has also shed light on other disparities like access to broadband and connectivity. Though many patients can now access care through their phones or laptops, and not everyone has the same virtual experience, our internal data shows that patients of color have different satisfaction levels with telehealth. Our Latinx patients aren't as comfortable using telehealth. Our Black patients don't feel as connected to our staff, and our Asian patients avoid telehealth visits if possible. All of this informs the way we approach care, whether it be telehealth or in person at our health centers. Many of you know that we have invested in race equity work for the past 2 years. That work has included monthly all-staff trainings on different race equity topics, workshops with our board, and bringing on patient navigators to help patients through their healthcare journey. Our race equity work will continue on, especially as we launch gender-affirming care, because we know that Black trans women experience the highest amounts of violence and harassment for simply just existing. We know that our race equity and our gender equity work involves collaborating with others who are also working to make our communities healthier. We're working hard at increasing our community outreach by building partnerships with our healthcare providers like UPMC, Penn State Hershey, and Patients Are Waiting, and with nonprofit groups too, including local Boys and Girls Clubs, YWCAs, federally qualified health centers, Hispanic centers, teen groups, and LGBTQ community centers. We're looking forward to building on those efforts this year, especially in York and Berks counties. Part of our plans are to launch a comprehensive bilingual sex education program for Reading youth and to host our Rainbow Room's second queer prom in Doylestown in early 2022. I hope that you'll continue to join us along our journey as we work together to deliver compassionate, non-judgmental care no matter what. Across the country's 2021 states' legislative sessions were among the most hostile in recent history for reproductive rights. Pennsylvania's legislature was no exception. The 4 anti-abortion bills that our state legislature has pending, that Governor Wolf has promised to veto, join more than 530 abortion restrictions introduced across the country this year, with more than 60 having been passed and signed into law. While the Pennsylvania bills aren't an immediate threat to reproductive health, they are only a prelude as to what is to come in the near future. Special interest anti-abortion groups are a very loud minority of Americans, attempting to tyrannize all of us with their draconian and misguided ideas. We all know what happens when we get complacent. The work doesn't stop, and anti-abortion legislatures are working hard to try to ban abortion. Here in Pennsylvania, the 4 anti-abortion bills are a 6-week ban on abortion, a ban on abortions for a Down syndrome diagnosis, a bill that would require burial services for abortions, a fetal homicide bill that would introduce mandatory sentencing. 2022 is an election year for us in Pennsylvania, and you'll be hearing a lot more from us in the coming months. And you know what is at stake across the nation. The Supreme Court's decision to review Mississippi's pre-viability 15-week abortion ban is a direct challenge to long-settled law and puts access to abortion at grave risk. We should all be alarmed. Our reproductive freedom is in serious peril. To share with us a story much closer to home that really underscores the importance of access is a piece written and recorded by PP Keystone supporter and Keystone Cares sponsor, Margaret Ballett-Saris. Margaret?
Hi, I'm Margaret Delaney Ballett-Saris, and this is the story of why I support Planned Parenthood. When I was 7, all the men in my family disappeared. My father to divorce and my grandfather and uncle to fatal car accidents. This was the year that the family became a matriarchy, and my mother and grandmother became superheroes. By the time I was making my way through puberty, my mother had remarried and moved the family to Washington, D.C., where I attended an all-girls school connected with the Episcopal Cathedral there. I developed some close friendships, one of which was with Anne. Anne was the daughter of a progressive Episcopal priest. She was smart, a good student, a burgeoning poet. We were 14 when Anne and I were walking across campus, and she casually picked a pussy willow pod and stuck it up her nose, only to be instantly swallowed up into the deep recesses of her head without any hope of retrieval. 2 weeks later, by miraculous coincidence, I found myself seated next to Anne in Bible study class. When she coughed, and out shot a bullet-like projectile, suspiciously shaped like a pussy willow pod, only blacker and slimier. After a moment's reflection, Anne and I shot into a helpless fit of laughter, which could only be mitigated by a trip to the principal's office. This was the same year, in 9th grade, that Anne's stomach appeared to be swelling unnaturally. She made slight mention of weight gain and began wearing a girdle under her uniform. It wasn't until she disappeared from school altogether that I connected her swelling stomach with her stories of a young man whom she'd met several months earlier. My mother would say to me during this period of my life that if I ever got into trouble, all I had to do was to be honest with her, and she would help me through. To a pubescent girl in the 60s, the phrase "to get into trouble" only meant one thing. I knew what she was referring to, and I believed her. One of my mother's superpowers was that she valued truth over reputation. I didn't see or hear from Anne again until we happened to meet one another in New York City in our mid-30s. She brought me up to date with her story. It was late spring when her parents deduced that Anne was pregnant, and the baby was due in the end of summer. Anne's father had been seeing a popular psychiatrist at the time who warned him not to suppress his feelings, but rather encouraged him to allow his anger around his daughter's pregnancy free rein. He went home and did just that. He yelled at Anne, called her every demeaning name he could think of, and drove her to a home for unwed mothers in Washington, D.C., downtown. He then packed up Anne's mother and left town to spend the summer at their beach house. They never even called her. Not everyone has a superpower in their family. Anne was so ashamed and depressed that she made no effort to make friends. She just lay on her bed to wait out her time. For months, she lay and waited. When she gave birth, she turned her head away, signed the adoption papers, and tried never to think of the child again. She was broken, she told me, and she still felt broken. Had Anne discovered Planned Parenthood before becoming sexually active, all this pain might have been avoided. Had she made an appointment after pregnancy, she would have found responsible and thoughtful adults to shepherd her through her tough decisions. She would have found care and kindness. These are the superpowers that Planned Parenthood provides. And these are the powers that I continue to support.
Our next speaker is someone you've hopefully come to know more this year, our tireless leader and fierce advocate for racial and social justice issues, especially reproductive rights and access to quality, affordable health care for all. Planned Parenthood Federation of America's president, Alexis McGill Johnson. Alexis?
Hello, everyone. I want to be the first to thank you tonight for the way you have stood with Planned Parenthood Keystone this year. When they needed you, you were there. And that meant when patients needed them, they kept our shared promise: care no matter what. Look, 2020 was a lot. 2021 is trying to give her a run for her money. But even on the hardest days, Melissa Reed and the team in Pennsylvania kept innovating to provide the care all patients deserve. They were one of the first affiliates in the country to offer direct-to-patient medication abortion. And this fall, they're expanding care to include gender-affirming care. That's exactly the kind of imagination we need right now, because in the state houses and in the courts, everything is on the line. This year, the Supreme Court will hear Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. It's a case that goes to the essence of Roe v. Wade. And I say this as someone who is almost exactly as old as Roe. We have never been so close to losing a fundamental constitutional right. You know, if Roe falls, 25 million women in 26 states might be forced into pregnancy if they don't have the means to get out of state. That would, of course, disproportionately harm Black and brown people in southern and Midwestern states. So, if alarm bells aren't already going off in your head, they should be, because it isn't just Mississippi. This year alone, we have seen 600 anti-abortion bills introduced in state legislatures. 90 have become law, making this the worst year on record. And you know, SB 8 in Texas and in Pennsylvania, you're fighting back against 4 anti-abortion bills, not to mention an anti-trans bill in the state legislature. That's not by accident. The same politicians trying to ban abortion are the ones who want to make it harder to vote and to stop trans youth from living full, healthy lives. We know our opposition. They always try to go further. There is no bottom. But this is not new. It has always been about control. Some of you have been in this fight for as long as we've had a right to abortion. And we have faced threats like this before, and I know you have the battle scars to prove it. But while this may be the same fight, today we are a different warrior. Our movement is transforming in amazing ways. We know how we need to translate influence into power, which means showing up differently than we have in the past. We're playing at an incredibly high level, shoring up our leaders in the White House and Congress, while also holding them accountable. And we're building belonging in our movement, lifting those who will be most impacted and centering their voices. There is a lot ahead for us. But we are ready. We were built for this fight, and we were made for this moment. And we are here for a reason, and that reason is you. You make this possible. Together, we are Planned Parenthood, no matter what. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. And thanks too to those of you who have already made gifts today. And congratulations to our early bingo winners. Remember to keep marking your bingo cards as you still have a chance to be entered into our prize drawing. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our special guest, trans trailblazer and gender theorist, Kate Bornstein. For those of you who may not have read Kate's work or heard her speak before, get ready. She's a radical role model, an affectionate best friend, and a guiding mentor all in one. Joining us now live is Kate. Kate?
Hello there, Kate Bornstein here. I'm so pleased to be part of this event for Planned Parenthood Keystone. I'm such a big fan of Planned Parenthood. Okay, I don't have much time and there's a whole lot I want to talk about. To sum up who I am, I'm not a man and I'm not a woman, and that's what I've been talking about and writing about for the past 35 or 40 years. That's my opinion of gender. Everyone has got an opinion about gender, and Planned Parenthood sits at the nexus of everything gender, right? Everyone who has an opinion about gender has an opinion about Planned Parenthood. But everyone has more than an opinion. Everyone, every single person you meet, and including yourself and me, everyone knows the real truth about gender. They're convinced of it. Talk with anyone about, well, what's gender? And they'll tell you the truth of gender. The problem is, very rarely does their truth of gender match up with our truth of gender. And the source of all gender conflicts, I found, boils down to the fact that not everyone agrees on the bottom line definitive truth of gender. Worse than that, we don't know how to allow other people to simply have their truth of gender. We insist that they have our truth of gender. And now that Keystone, that Planned Parenthood Keystone is providing gender-affirming hormone therapy, bless your hearts, thank you. Gender conflicts are going to intensify. So what do? How do we cope with all of this with peace and love in our hearts? People are going to complain. People are going to say they're not women, they're not men. People are going to say that you can't change people. How do we deal with that with peace and love in our hearts? I found a way to do that for myself, and I'd like to share that with you today. Starts about 7-8 years ago. I attended a teaching by His Holiness the Dalai Lama in New York City. The title of his lecture that day was Profound Wisdom and Vast Compassion, the Essence of Eloquence. According to Buddhist philosophy, not religion, philosophy, according to Buddhist philosophy, the definition of eloquence is this: the telling of a truth in such a way that it eases suffering. The more suffering that's eased by your telling of a truth, well, the more eloquent you've been. I love that. In order to ease a great deal of suffering by your telling of a truth, well, that takes profound wisdom and vast compassion. It takes a lot of work. Now, to parse this in the everyday world, in our everyday world, Buddhist philosophers say that there are two kinds of truth. There's definitive truth and there's arguable truth. Definitive truth, not too many of them. There's very few definitive truths going around, and they're usually very simply stated. For example, everyone dies. There you go. And this one, nobody knows exactly what time they're gonna die. There's another definitive truth. but there aren't many of them. And arguable truths, on the other hand, dime a dozen. Millions and millions of arguable truths. Pizza is the best food on the planet. Oh my God, it totally is. I have pizza in my fridge right now, and I plan on eating some later after I'm done with this talk because it's just so good. You can have it any way you want. You can go around the corner and get it. You can have it savory. You can have it sweet. They make it with Nutella now. It's the best food on the planet, and that's the truth. Arguably. All right. So I was listening to the Dalai Lama talk, and I'm going, yeah, the problem with gender is people have all these arguable truths of gender. And I was wondering, is there a definitive truth of gender that we'd all have to agree upon? And I found it. I found the definitive truth of gender. It's not a fun one. You won't like it. I don't like it. Here we go. The definitive truth of gender is that gender is always relative to context and point of view. So if you change where you are or who you're with, gender is likely to change too. And if you change when you are, then gender will also change. In other words, gender is relative. That's a really sucky definitive truth. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't really ease suffering. So we get back to, all right, what are the arguable truths of gender and how much suffering can they ease? There are three main arguable truths of gender. One of them is that gender is all based in the body. It's all male and female. It's a binary. And that's that. All right. That is the truth of gender. For thousands of years, that's been the truth of gender. Who are we to say that's not the truth of gender? It is, honest. It is the truth of gender. Arguably. About 100 or so years ago, some women stood up and said, you know what? I'm not going to be a woman the way you say I have to be a woman. I've been thinking about this, and I'm going to be a different kind of woman. And all of a sudden, to the truth of gender that was the body, these early feminists, they weren't even called that back in those days, these early feminists said, my mind is part of who I am. So they added mind to body. And that became the truth of gender. What I think I am, what I project myself to be. And that is another big arguable truth of gender that's being taught today. People say it very easily. They say gender's between your ears and sex is between your legs. Okay, that's the truth, arguably. Finally, there are people who say there's no such thing as gender. It just doesn't exist. It's all made up. It's a construct, and it can easily be deconstructed. These are gender anarchists. And that's the truth of gender, arguably. I've been looking for a grand unified theory, how to think about gender so that we allow people to have their truth without hurting other people. I think I came up with it. Here we go. Ready? I don't have too much time. I'm going to go quickly with this one. All right, gender is most commonly seen as a binary. Let's call it sex. Sex, based in the body, can be represented if you draw a circle on a piece of paper, divided in the middle, male on one side, female on the other side. Everything to do with male. Hunter, beards and mustaches. On the other side, breasts and eggs and sperm. And everything to do with gender fits neatly into this binary, sex. We'll call it sex. And so basically you have gender in two dimensions, male and female. And it's not a lie. People who believe that this is gender believe that this is the truth, and they're not wrong. They are looking at gender in an incomplete way. Drawing a circle on a piece of paper, two dimensions. As soon as you add mind to it, right? I'm not going to be a woman the way you say. I'm going to be it differently, or I'm going to change my gender. I'm going to be non-binary. I'm going to be fluid. All of these wonderful ideas about gender that we are seeing expressed today can't be expressed in two dimensions. All of a sudden, gender is body plus mind, and we have three dimensions. And gender can best be expressed as a sphere. All right, just think of a sphere. And all this space, you can have wonderful ideas of gender. And that's the truth of gender. Arguably. We've been thinking about gender increasingly for the past good 40 years now this way. And I'm thinking even that's incomplete. Gender has to exist someplace. It has to exist sometime. So gender exists in time and space. This is a fourth dimension of gender. Why is this important? Because that makes gender a continuum rather than a sphere. With me? In my case, I'm 73 years old. My gender is a continuum of 73 years. Moment to moment, my gender has changed and grown and shrank and grown and changed and became this, became that, to the point where my pronoun, whatever, I've used them all, and some of them I've made up myself. And so whatever pronoun you use about me is true about me, looking at my gender as a continuum. Now, thinking about gender in this way is a challenge, because we have to admit that gender in changing it's hard for me to express it, that gender changes. This results in a couple of ways that gender causes suffering. I was saying earlier that the eloquence is the telling of a truth in such a way that it eases suffering. What kind of gender suffering is there? Knowing that gender changes, we now know that gender is never satisfying. As soon as you get your gender down right, it slips and you have to correct it. It's like having a bad hair day. People have bad gender days. People have bad gender years. People have bad gender lives. And that's where Planned Parenthood comes in and says, okay, we can help. Because this person is saying, no, my gender depends on my body being a certain way. And Planned Parenthood says, yeah, we got you covered. Thank you, Planned Parenthood. There's one other way that gender causes suffering, and thinking about gender in 4 dimensions can help ease this. The deepest suffering of gender is thinking that we are our genders. Right? I am this gender. We say it. I'm a man. I'm a woman. And so when people misgender us, it hits our hearts and it attacks us and we feel so bad. Gender, I want you to think of gender as a user interface through which we navigate the world. All right? It's mind plus body changing as we move through the world, and someone misgenders us, or we go, oh, well, something about this user interface needs a little tweaking. I'll step down to Planned Parenthood and get a telehealth and see if I can change that. You're not your gender. Your gender is a user interface with the rest of the world. That's what I wanted to tell you about gender. Think about gender in 4 dimensions. 2-dimensional gender, we'll call it sex. The body, male and female, that's 2 dimensions. Thinking about gender in the mind, okay, that's 3 dimensions. Body plus mind, 3-dimensional gender. And finally, understanding that gender is moving through time and space all the time. That's gender in 4 dimensions. All right, I got sent some questions here that I'm going to try to answer. If I could find these questions. Oh. I had it. I swear I had it. I remember them basically. Someone wanted to say, someone asked me about cancel culture. What do I think about canceling people who attack us based on gender? And I don't see that. I see that as necessary as a stopgap measure. Yes, okay, we're going to step back. We step back. I wouldn't necessarily do that. I would step back. That's just how I would deal with it. Someone else asked me, given all the laws that are coming into effect now for anti-trans bills that are coming up, when I was growing up in the 50s, did we have similar laws then? No. And part of the danger was that we didn't have laws, and police, if you looked in any way trans, they could do anything. They would call it loitering. There was a law that you had to wear at least 3 types of clothing that were correct for your sex, and they would arrest you. They would just simply look at you and arrest you. And this is how the Stonewall riots started. They would come in and they go, "You look weird. We're arresting you." That's the time that I grew up in. I think that's about it, my darlings. I want you to think about gender and your truth of gender as eloquently as you can, using your truth of gender to ease suffering, not to cause it. Allowing someone else, understanding that their truth of gender is also true for them. And you go, okay, I get it. It's true. So, doing that, owning your truth of gender, allowing others to own theirs, using your truth of gender to ease suffering. Planned Parenthood is doing that. Thank you, Planned Parenthood Keystone. Thank you for letting me talk. Okay. Have a good rest of your event. I love you.
Thank you, Kate, for being a part of Keystone Cares. I am just speechless at you sharing your personal story with us. And I just appreciate you sharing every part of your journey with us here today. We've got to toast to you, Kate. And so this year, we're so happy to introduce a new element of Keystone Cares, the KC Signature Cocktail. Damien is with us now, and I hope you'll join in as he shows us how to make it. The recipe is on the back of your bingo card. So let's get ready to make it and toast Kate. Cheers.
Thanks, Sam, and thanks PP Keystone for inviting me today to make this first Keystone Cares cocktail. Hi everyone, my name is Damien Langarica, head bartender here at ABOR, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a grenadine fizz. So let's get to it. We're going to grab our shaking tins, okay? We're going to need to make our cocktail. For this cocktail, you get two options of liquor. You get either vodka or gin. I personally like to go with gin, so we're going to do 1.5 ounces of gin. And our next ingredient is going to be our grenadine syrup. It's a very easy syrup to make at home. Just basically need pomegranate juice and sugar, equal parts, in a pan at a low heat until the sugar is fully dissolved. Once you have it, we're going to add 2/3 of an ounce of grenadine syrup. Our next ingredient is going to be our simple syrup, which we're going to do 1/3 of an ounce. Next, we got fresh lemon juice, a full 1 ounce of it. Good. Now we got our glass ready. We add some ice to it. We're going to add some ice to our shaker tin as well. Put them together and shake. Now we have it all shaken together. We're going to pour it into our glass. We're going to top it off with some club soda. We'll give it a quick stir to combine all the ingredients nice and even. Garnish with 3 cocktail cherries. And there you have it, your grenadine fizz. And now that you know how to make a grenadine fizz, I'm going to teach you how to elevate your cocktail by making an easy riff from a grenadine fizz. Back to our shaker tins one more time. In this case, again, you can do gin or vodka or any spirit of your choice. I like gin, so I'm going to go with gin again one more time. Do 1.5 ounces of gin. Our next ingredient is going to be our elderflower liqueur. For this, it's going to add a nice flowery and kind of sweet touch to our drink. Nice for this summer. 1/2 ounce of elderflower liqueur. Going back to our grenadine syrup, we're going to do 1/2 ounce as well. Fresh lemon juice one more time, 3/4 of an ounce. We're going to keep our glass ready. This time we're going to do a coupe, okay? It's going to make our cocktail look fancier, more elegant. We're going to grab our strainer one more time. In this case, we're not going to shake our cocktail. What we're going to do is we're going to throw our cocktail, which is a very nice, cool technique that's going to mix all our ingredients better, okay? So we're going to start slow and close to each other. Pour from one tin to the other. And as you go, if you feel more confident, you can stretch it out and do a longer pour. Once it's nice and mixed, you do it a couple times. You pour into your cup all the drink. And to finish, we're going to top it off with some nice Prosecco or champagne if you have it. You're going to express and discard a nice lemon peel for aromatics. Rub it all over the rim. We're going to finish it with a nice lemon twist for visual effects. And there you have it. Your Grenadine 75 and your Grenadine fizz. Cheers. Cheers.
Thank you, Damien. Now, I hope everyone's had a chance to make their KC cocktail and that you'll join me in raising a glass to Planned Parenthood Keystone, our staff, our patients, and our supporters. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, in order to continue to fulfill our mission to provide care no matter what, we need your help. Yesterday, many of you joined us in the rallies for abortion justice, so you know just how critical it is to ensure our doors remain open for our patients. And this weekend, we've set a goal of raising $15,000 in support of the important sexual and reproductive health services we provide. So far, according to our on-screen totalizer, we've raised, drumroll please, $5,100 towards our goal. So thank you, Corinne, Barbara, Abigail. Thank you for your gifts. We still have a way to go, so please make a gift now through the on-screen donate button, the QR code, or use your phone to text. To text to give, text PP Keystone to 888-646-0646. That's 888-646-0646. You'll receive a text message in response with a link taking you directly to the website. And from there, you can navigate to the donate tab. So if you've ever wondered how your gifts make an impact on our patients, I'd like to share with you some comments we recently received from our patients about our testing services. The nurse was really informative. I get tested regularly with new partners, but the nurse was great at describing the time frame of when symptoms arise and the window for detection of tests. Another patient shared, after going in, I was able to immediately get necessary medication for free, along with contraceptives. I was also given a lot of information for every question I asked. And one more patient shared, not even a hint of sex shaming for seeking STI testing. I went to a hospital clinic before, and shame seemed to be the only tool they had. So thank you, Planned Parenthood Keystone. Your gift of $1,000 today can provide sexually transmitted infection screenings for 100 patients like this at our centers. A gift of $500 means an initial visit for PrEP, which is an HIV prophylaxis medication, and follow-up labs for 1 year. And a gift of $100 means pregnancy testing for 10 patients. So let's take a look at the totalizer again. Some gifts have come in, anonymous. Thank you, Beth Gill McDonald, John Stevens, and Tom Thomas. This year, we've also heard from our patients about safety concerns and how important our security and volunteer escorts have been to them. Things like, from the security guard who made it more comfortable to go into the building, despite the religious group outside, to being warmly welcomed and having my questions answered. I was a nervous first-timer. Procedures done in a timely and efficient manner. The nurses and doctors and just everyone was overall extremely friendly, caring, and helpful throughout the visit. One other person shared with us, the staff were all great. They made the situation comfortable and easy, focusing on safety and full disclosure. The patient escorts outside were very nice as well, offering to walk me to my car because of the protesters. You could just tell everyone cared about the patients. One other patient said, having someone escort you into the building is so thoughtful and amazing. The safety and security of our patients and staff is our first priority at Planned Parenthood Keystone. By making a gift of $2,500 today, you can provide personal protection equipment for Health Center and our patients for the next 6 months. And a gift of $500 means you can provide abortion day security. A gift of $250 can provide 1 patient escort volunteer training session. So let's check in at our totalizer again and see what we've raised. Drum roll, please. We've raised $5,200. Thank you, Lilia Weber, Melanie Stone, Judy Chang Cody. That's really incredible and so generous, all of you. We still need each of you, though, to reach our goal. And as you think about how you can help, I want to share what some of our patients have been saying about the value of a provider who offers care without judgment and meets our patients where they're at. One patient told us that they would like to recognize a special staff person for her amazing personality. That staff member was genuinely heartfelt in everything she said and spoke with compassion and kindness. She was easy to speak with and non-judgmental. I will forever remember how she made me feel at my appointment. I'm now 7 months clean from IV drug use and prostitution, and I still remember how this staff member looked right past my past choices and saw me for who I am and told me how proud of her I was. This staff person is impacting lives by simply being herself, and I hope she's recognized for doing just so. Another patient story from our LGBTQ+ youth programs. As a teenager, I'd spend only 2 hours in our rainbow room, but it was a brief period during which I could feel like myself and be happy. The guidance I received from staff and students there helped me become the person I am today. Without the support I received from the volunteers and other youth members, I doubt I would have developed the self-esteem and a sense of purpose that helped me get my life on track and led to my life as a soldier, a lawyer, and a husband. There's no doubt in my mind that the Rainbow Room was indispensable in getting me to where I am, and I couldn't possibly imagine the impact that the program has had on so many of our region's LGBTQ+ youth. And one more patient story. This was my first time in a Planned Parenthood, and one of my first doctor's appointments that I created and attended all by myself. I was only 19 years old. I was incredibly nervous to go, but the staff there were super friendly, and just talking to them behind the counter while filling out my paperwork really helped calm my nerves, as they were very friendly and patient with my questions. I think one of the highlights that really made me feel at ease, besides the friendly atmosphere, was the fact that they offered to have one of the other staff with me while I got the implant. I was nervous, and they asked if I wanted someone there with me to support me and be there for me while I went through something that I thought was scary. That really meant a lot to me, and it shows that Planned Parenthood Keystone really cares about the patients that they see. You know, these are other examples of our vital programs offered at Planned Parenthood Keystone. And your gift helps us to pursue our mission, and you can find out more in your event program. Okay, so let's have one last check-in with our totalizer. Thanks again to Abigail Sloan, Barbara, and everyone else who's made a gift tonight. We're almost out of time, so we'll be leaving the totalizer, the website, and the text to give opportunity open for the next 24 hours. Please share these important ways to give back with your friends and your colleagues who want to see the positive impact that Planned Parenthood Keystone continues to have in our communities. So I'd like to invite Melissa to offer us some closing remarks. Melissa?
Thank you for being our partners in this important work. We've accomplished so much this year thanks to your support, but we have much more work to do and are so glad you continue to join us on this journey. We are especially grateful to this year's sponsors and our special guests, Alexis, Kate, and Damien. You've really raised the bar for next year's Keystone Cares. Congratulations to bingo winners and our creative marker makers. Thanks for playing along with us and for posting on social media. Please stay tuned. We'll announce the winners of our PP Key swag bags in the November Impact Update. Have a great evening.